Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Caitlin McKegg. I am a real estate broker here in Phoenix, Arizona. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to talk about where you can find the most seller concessions right now. If you're a buyer, you want to know this because you'll know which cities and zip codes are giving the most concessions. And if you're a seller, you want to know this too because this is your competition out there. So we're going to go through that. We're going to go through a few more statistics of different things that I want to share that are timely, and hopefully it is helpful. So thanks for joining me. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. I am here every Monday with market updates and Fridays with some additional information, home tours, that kind of thing. And as I've been saying lately, you guys come follow me on Instagram at your Phoenix real estate agent. Okay, so for those of you who are new here, this is the Cromford Report, which provides a lot of great information for real estate agents that are subscribers. And so I'm a subscriber to their information, and they break down tons of stats within the MLS. And that's what we are looking at today. So thank you to the Cromford Report. All right, so this is the percentage of closings with seller paid concessions. Now, first, I'm going to go back here. Let's look at what's happening in the Valley in general. These seller paid concessions are at about 44% of sales, making this a little bit bigger. So 44% of sales gave a seller concession, but let's look at what areas of the Valley have had the most concessions. Coolidge is at the very top with 74% of sales, including seller concessions. Now, why is that? I'm going to take a guess that that is because there is a ton of new construction there, and they are giving a lot of seller concessions as incentives with new construction. Tonopah, Casa Grande, probably similar ideas there, Youngtown, Avondale. As we get into some of these other cities, Maricopa, Buckeye, those are also more kind of outlying areas. Arizona City, New River, Tolleson, Glendale. But still, 50% of sales, including a seller concession. Now, what is a seller concession if you're not familiar? If you're buying a house, a seller can give you a credit, basically, that is applied to your closing costs at close of escrow. And that information, or not information, but that money can be provided towards paying your closing costs, or it can go towards your lender fees to buy down your interest rate. And buying down an interest rate can be very advantageous in this market. It does cost money. It costs thousands of dollars to buy down a percentage point of your interest rate. Depends on the lender and a lot of different factors, but generally it is not super cheap to do. However, if you do a permanent rate buy down with this money that the seller has given you, then you have a lower payment than you would have had at a higher interest rate. Oftentimes, the math works out that if you bought the house for a lower price versus buying the house at a higher price, but with a rate buy down, you actually have a lower monthly payment when you utilize that lower rate at a higher purchase price than you would have at a lower price, but the higher rate. So that's kind of a quick crash course in what a rate buy down is. And that's why these seller concessions are so popular, because they are allowing people to still afford to purchase a home. Because at this point in time, it's no new news that our home prices are pretty high. And then we also have these rates that are hitting the 7% range. And so it's making it very unaffordable, the combination of the two. So 50% concessions. Then we get into Surprise, Phoenix, Queen Creek, Laveen. This is all in the 40% range. Gilbert, Mesa, Tempe, Whitman's in there, and Florence, Apache Junction, Waddell, Anthem. But as we get down this list, you start to see these dwindling, only 34%, 33%. Scottsdale's sitting at 27%. We have Fountain Hills at 24%. Sun Lakes, Cave Creek, Carefree. Sun City West is one of the lowest here at 11%. Paradise Valley, Carefree, Cave Creek. All of these in this area, most of them, excluding not Eloy, not Sun Lakes or Sun City West, but those are all more of our luxury markets where you don't see as many seller paid concessions. Why? Because there are a lot of buyers that are buying with cash, or more wealthy buyers buying in that luxury range where a seller concession isn't really the thing that they're looking for. They're more interested in getting a golf membership with the house or something like that. So we don't see as many concessions in that luxury range as we do in other areas. So here you go. These are the cities where we're seeing the most seller paid concessions. So if you're a buyer in those cities, know that you can negotiate this. If you're a seller, know that that's what your competition is doing. Let's take a quick look at zip codes as well. They've got this still naming the city, but also with the zip codes. So if there are any particular zip codes you're looking for, you can see a few here. We've got quite a few in Phoenix in the top ranges here. And then as we go down, seeing a lot of the same cities, Queen Creek, et cetera, et cetera. It is hard to just look at zip codes because it's such a small subset. I would say that looking at the entire city data is probably going to be a little bit more indicative of what's really going on in terms of trends. So that's what's going on with seller concessions. But we also have started to see that we're not seeing as many price reductions. So here's where we stand. The number of price cuts in the last week is 3,000 listings had price cuts. If you look back to October 2nd, we were at 4,400, so quite a bit higher. And everything started to shift back in May, and you can see this totally climbed up. It's stayed pretty high, and now it's starting to taper off. Why are we seeing fewer price cuts? Well, because we have a lot of people giving those concessions in lieu of a price cut. And we also are starting to see much lower contract activity, fewer listings hitting the market than we were seeing earlier in the year. So that's just something to note, that we're not seeing as many homes cut their prices. So if that's something you're hoping for as a buyer, I would suggest you start looking into what the numbers look like with a seller concession, whether that's covering your closing costs or buying down your rate, because that is more likely what the sellers are looking to do right now. And obviously, as a buyer, you're kind of in the driver's seat at this point. But if you're looking to, get a deal with a seller or, appeal to them, those are some of the things you can think about. Now, I also wanted to share, just for funsies, let's see what's happening with the number of closings over the listing price. Doesn't this sound like we're going back in time? Haven't looked at this chart in a while, so I was curious. We have about 13%, 13.5% of closings over the asking price, believe it or not. I don't know who's buying over the asking price right now, but they are out there. This is in the last 30 days, about 2,000 sales, and 283 were over the list price, which is about 14%. And then we can break this down even further and see which price ranges are seeing most of the sales over asking price. And it is the 250 to 300,000 range seems to be the biggest section where we're seeing sales over asking price. 300 to 400 is in there as well, and 400 to 500 is kind of up there, but mainly this 250 to 3 is where we're seeing most of that. And let's see also what we're seeing in terms of the amount over the list price. So the highest amount over list price was 57,000. That was in the 1.5 million range. And then in these other price ranges, we're seeing kind of where this average sits, 5,000 over list price, much, much smaller than what we were seeing back in the frenzy of the market. I think at one point we were at 20,000 over list price being the median in all different price ranges. That really varied. But so there you have it. We still have some people spending money over the list price, which I can imagine can be happening if we do have listings out there that are starting at a really aggressive price because they want a quick sale and they know that the market is kind of treacherous right now. So maybe you do end up getting a few people interested that are willing to bid things up. But just kind of interesting to see that we still have the existence of sales over asking price. So hope that was helpful for you guys, whether you're a buyer or seller. That is some new info as far as seller concessions. Keep that in mind on either side. It could be beneficial for you. And if you want additional information about your city, your zip code, or anything that I went over today to be more specific to you, reach out to me. I have my info in the description below. And you can also set up a time to chat about your real estate goals there as well if you'd like to chat with me. So thanks so much for joining on this Friday. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all on Monday with another market update.